Once, long, long, long ago, there lived a young farmer and his wife who had the comforts of a wonderful home, but were very sad and very gloomy. They lived in a large thatched domicile with a beautiful open field where they had pastures of land to take care of sheep and cattle, but still they were very unhappy. The farmer was sad because his wife always walked around moody, and the wife was unhappy because she had no children to nurture. Well, besides growing grains in the field, the farmer designed bridles and harnesses, and he didn't have too much free time. But he felt very sorrowful for his wife because she spent all the time just very moody and walking around, again, not having a child of her own. Well, time flew by, and after 10 barren years, the wife became very desperate and very angry, and she confronted one of the gods called Bedzukas. He was the most powerful god of thunder, and he was the Lithuanian nature god. Well, one midsummer night, big thunderstorm came in, and it rocked the very foundation of their home. In fact, the skies grew dark, and it was very turbulent. And what happened was, they looked up, and everything was all dark in there, and it was Bedzukas, and he had come into the skies with his black stallions bellowing and screeching orders, and with his galloping horses, when the chariots struck the rocks, thunder and lightning struck. Bedzukas was very angry. It looked like he was about to do some serious wrecking, like knock down several trees or maybe burn a whole forest. He had a very bad temper. A wife, she looked up at the turbulent skies, and she shook her fist and she said, "What's with you, Bedzukas, you, the almighty God, the greatest God who can do anything or will anything, but will not send me a child? What's wrong with you? Shame on you for ignoring my wish." And Bedzukas, he growled some more, and he struck the earth, and finally he and his storm went off in an easterly direction. Well, that night when the old woman there, the wife, she decided she would go to bed. She needed to let some water. So she pulled out the chamber pot and she sat on it. And she heard a very unusual sound. It was the sound of the wind. And then all of a sudden she heard the sound of like something screeching or crying. And she got up and she looked down, and lo and behold, in the chamber pot, there was this little tiny baby boy. Oh, she picked up the boy in her amazement, and she started screaming, and she said, "Oh, look, husband, look." The baby was there. He had his little pink quivering arms just reaching out to her, and his wide mouth open, and she was crying, "Oh my God, Bedzukas, look, look. I have a little boy. I have a baby boy." She was thrilled. Oh, the couple, they were so happy. No infant could have been treated better than this child. Oh, she was like a doting Madonna. She anointed the baby with fragrant oils, and then she made fine linens to clothe him with that she had sewn herself. And that child, they never put that child down. They passed the child back and forth, and they named the child Bedzukas, meaning little wind. And so Bedzukas, he grew, and he grew into a little baby that was crawling all over, healthy little boy, all over the floor chasing the puppy. And soon he began to walk, and he began to talk. And then when he was about 4 years old, he began to assume the first job around the farm. He enjoyed that. He liked going out and taking a big flask of water to his father who was out in the fields. And then, a few more years later, he began to take the sheep and out into the pastures. It was the job of the very old or the very young to take them out into the pastures, and he loved that because he liked bringing them down into the river to drink the water, and that was enjoyable. And he grew up to be like any little typical boy. He loved to fish for pike. He used to wear his little hat askew over his blonde hair, and he loved climbing the birch trees and just that were swaying in the summer breezes. And his favorite thing was to pick cherries from the trees. The only thing is his parents noticed that when there was a breeze coming by, it kind of caught him off balance, and he kind of was a little bit scared. In fact, if a strong wind blew, he ran behind closed doors and to hide, as if he was afraid. Now, one year, the winter storm came in with a vengeance that they had never seen before. The icy Baltic Sea area was cold, and the winds were cold that no man or beast could survive that winter without getting warm. And so what they did was they outfitted the boy into very warm clothes. They made him have boots that were made out of wolf pelts, a hat of mink, and a cloak that was made from lambskin. And he was so warm as a flea under a hound's tail. And he would just love going out there into the fields with the animals. And then one winter came, and he was about 12 years old, and he started to learn how to do the things that all boys do around the home. He started to learn how to do animal husbandry. He also learned how to make linseed oil out of flax, which was used for the wood or for the leather. In fact, he became a great little companion to his father and wonderful to his mother. They were so proud of the achievement of their little 12-year-old. And the following winter solstice came, and with that came the icy gales of the Baltic Sea, and the storms blew in, and Bedzukas was out in the pastures. His parents were waiting for him, and they stood by the window, and they could see him out in the fields as he was coming back to the home. And they watched in horror, amazement, because as he was coming back, he was walking over the threshold, and just then a big storm picked up the wind and picked him up. And he began to bob around the yard like a little butterfly. And then another big gust of wind picked him up even higher, and he began to go higher into the sky. And then there was another big wind that took him even higher and higher until they could see him no more. And Bedzukas, he was gone with the wind.